Hello friends, welcome to another edition of Bronco Sports Weekly. I'm Sean Fagan. We had 3 teams in action this past weekend, 4 home contests and 4 home victories. Let's get to the action. The men's basketball team kept on rolling this past weekend, defeating High Point and Oakland at home to extend their winning streak to 6 games. The Broncos opened with a thrilling 54-53 win over High Point on Thursday as sophomore guard Austin Ritchie scored on a reverse layup with 5 seconds remaining to put the Broncos ahead for good. The Broncos were even sharper on Saturday, defeating Oakland 76-72 thanks to a 9-2 run to close the game. Shane Whittington had 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 blocks in the victory. The Broncos have 2 games this week, starting with Michigan on Tuesday. Hockey extended its own winning streak to 3 games with a pair of victories over Northern Michigan at Lawson Ice Arena over the weekend. The Broncos rallied from a 2-0 deficit in the Friday game against the Wildcats, scoring 4 unanswered goals to take a 4-2 win. The Broncos would use a stalwart defensive effort on Saturday night, with Trevor Elias netting the only goal the Broncos would need in their 1-0 win. Frank Slabowski had 23 saves in the shutout. And women's basketball engaged in a thriller on the road on Saturday afternoon, pushing the Oakland Golden Grizzlies to 4 overtimes before just narrowly losing 73-70. The game was the first time the teams have played since 1983, so they made up for lost time by playing one of the longest games in Bronco history. 3 Broncos played more than 40 minutes in the game, including A.J. Johnson, who had 15 points, and Miracle Woods, who finished with 12 points and 4 blocks. We'll be hearing from Miracle a little bit later. The Broncos have IUPUI on the road this week before returning home to face Chicago State. And now let's take a look at some of the highlights from this past weekend. Bronco basketball hosting the High Point Panthers on Thursday, looking to extend their season-long win streak to 5 games. Shane Whittington was a monster in the post in this game, throwing down the one-handed jam along the baseline. The Broncos would lead the Panthers through the first half. They would need to come back, though, at the end of the game. Shane Whittington and Nate Hutchison had something to say about that. Hutchison sending that ball back. And then later, with the game on the line, Ritchie, Broncos trailing by 1. He drives. Reverse layup is good. The Broncos defeat the Panthers 54-53 on Thursday night. On to hockey now. The Broncos taking on the Northern Michigan Wildcats, trailing 2-0 in the second period. Chase Ballsey would get things going. The lucky break for the shorthanded goal to cut the lead to 1. You know what they say, the most dangerous lead in hockey is the 2-goal lead. The Broncos would make it up quickly. Morrison with the slapper from the point. The game would be tied at 2 goals apiece. Dane Walters now in front of the net. He's going to pick up the rebound, slap it in. The Broncos would take a 3-2 lead over the Wildcats. Chase Ballsey would provide the icing on the cake. Empty net goal in the third period. The Broncos defeat Northern Michigan on Friday 4-2. Back to hoops now. Bronco men's basketball taking on the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Brandon Pokley knocking down the 3. He had 9 points in the contest. He's been great over the past several games for the Broncos. Now the ball sent inside. Shane Whittington throws down the dunk. He would end up with a game-high 14 points before fouling out. He had 6 blocks. Austin Ritchie drives to the hoop, lays it in. The Broncos would come back from a deficit 70-67 in the second half. They would take the lead 76-72 and hold on for the victory. Bronco hockey looking for the sweep against the Wildcats on Saturday, and they were not playing around. A stalwart defensive effort for the Broncos. Just 1 goal in the game. That was all they were going to need. Trevor Elias scoops it up along the boards. In the slot, fires the backhander past the goaltender Coro, and the Broncos would hold a 1-0 lead. Frank Slabowski would make 23 saves in the shutout win. Welcome back to Bronco Sports Weekly. I am now joined by a freshman on the Western Michigan women's basketball team. The Broncos are going to conclude a 5-game road swing this week when they take on IUPUI, and they will return home to play at University Arena on Saturday. Joining me now is Miracle Woods. Miracle, welcome to Bronco Sports Weekly.
Hello.
Speak up, come on.
Hello.
Hi. There we go. Now you're, a freshman coming into this program, and you're growing into the college game. You've really worked yourself into a role on this team early in the season, and it's just interesting to me that you also have head coach Shane Klipfel in his first year, and he's working himself into a head coaching role. So talk about some of that learning curve that you've noticed with yourself, how you've progressed early in the season, and maybe how you can see everybody else is adjusting to coach.
Well, to me, he was kind of like my old coach in high school. A lot of the same teaching things that he did. So it wasn't really a hard adjustment for me, but my biggest thing that he taught me was stay low on everything I did and have more body control and be efficient with my movement.
Efficiency with the movement. Is that, would you say that was the biggest thing you had to work on, trying to maybe conserve energy over the course of a game?
Yeah, everybody tells me how I run like so crazy and use so much arm movement, and I just waste so much energy. So it's like tighten up your abs and just learn how to just relax a little bit.
But you've got to learn how to conserve energy if you're going to keep playing 4 overtime games. What was that this weekend? That has to be one of the longest games in Bronco history.
Yeah. In the game, it was like, come on, hit this shot. And then every time we hit a shot, they came down and hit another one. So it was like we get a defensive stop, then we get down, score, then they come back, score again. Then it's like by the end of the game, it was like everybody's legs was so jello. I'm in the game, like my legs is like tingling because I'm ready to like sit down. But it's like we all had to keep fighting. I think we did a pretty good job of just staying aware and staying in the game.
Well, you played something like 42, 43 minutes. You played more than the equivalent of a full game. I can't imagine, how many overtime games did you play in high school that were anywhere near that long? Ever?
Ever. Maybe 1 or 2 overtimes.
Okay. But never something like that.
Never
long.
4 overtimes. I was about to die.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about where the Broncos have been this season. You guys have been on the road so much to start this season. You're in the middle of a 5-game, just this long road swing now. You're on the road at IUPUI this Wednesday, and then you come back here to play in University Arena. That's got to be a welcome sight to see that home game on the schedule.
Yeah, our team is like really excited to play IUPUI. Most of us know people that goes to IUPUI,
Okay.
like people we've played in high school or went to school with. So it's a real big game for us. And then, of course, we're happy to come back home this Saturday and play again and get a win for our home and just play better for our team.
Do you think that helps the team grow, though, playing on the road so much, facing a lot of adversity? I mean, you went to the Northern Arizona tournament and you had to play the host school in the first round, and then you go on to beat them, and then you had to play a very, very good Tulane team. How much does that help the team grow early in the year?
It teaches us to have more confidence in what we do and when we do it. It was hard to play in that gym, but I feel like it helped us grow, as in when we come back home, we know we need to protect our own gym and be ready to take a stance and make a statement to other teams.
Now, another cool thing about that trip was you got the chance to see the Grand Canyon. And I've never been there, but I've heard it is absolutely fantastic. Have you ever been there before? What was it like?
No, it was kind of scary. At first, it was like, okay, we got the rails to protect us from falling over. And then everybody wanted to, like, go down in the rocks and just be on the edge and just take pictures. And I was like, I'm not going down there. So then Coach went down, and I followed Coach. And we was just down there taking pictures. Like, Ari was just sitting on the edge, like, with her feet dangling. We was like, oh, my gosh, Ari, are you crazy?
Was there anybody that was completely terrified of the heights that didn't want to go anywhere near the edge?
Coach Reaney. That's about it. Everybody else was down there. Coach Reaney would not go down there.
Yeah, now, you've had the chance to be with your teammates for the past, obviously now 5, 6 handful of games now. And you've had a chance to see how people have their pregame rituals, their pregame routines. Do you have any different superstitions before a game? Like, do you tie your shoes a certain way? Do you listen to certain music?
No, not really. Mine is, however I come into the locker room is how I'm going to play. So every game I try to come in like with lots of energy and I just yell a lot. Like, I'm the loudest person on the team with the most energy. I just try to get my team into a ready mode.
Who would you say is the most quietly focused person in the locker room?
Alex.
Yeah?
She's just to herself. I mean, but she's always quiet. But when it comes to games, she's just there, just observing everybody, not really saying too much. But we all know, like, she's focused. She's ready to go.
All right, Miracle. Hey, good luck this week against IUPUI. Can't wait to see you guys back at University Arena on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks, let's now take a look at some of the action that the Broncos will be taking in this weekend. Hockey will host one of its biggest weekend series of the young season when the Ferris State Bulldogs come to town for a pair of conference games. The puck drops at Lawson Ice Arena at 7:05 on both Friday and Saturday nights as the Broncos take on one of last year's Frozen Four participants on their home ice. These games will, of course, be available on Bronco Insider and on the Bronco Radio Network. Women's basketball will face the IUPUI Panthers on Wednesday to wrap up a 3-game road swing before returning home to host the Chicago State Cougars on Saturday, December 8th. Tip-off for Wednesday's game is scheduled for 7 p.m., while the game against the Cougars on Saturday is scheduled for a 2 p.m. start. And the men's basketball team will start a 4-game road swing on Tuesday when they face number 3 Michigan at the Chrysler Center. That'll be followed by a Saturday night game against the red-hot Illinois State Redbirds in Bloomington. Tip-off for the game against Michigan is scheduled for 8:30 p.m. as the game will be carried on the Big Ten Network. The Broncos game against the Redbirds will be an 8 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off. And that's going to do it for us this week on Bronco Sports Weekly. Join us again next week for our final one of the semester. Same Bronco time, same Bronco place.